was literally thinking about this in the car. I was trying to answer the question for myself because I know a lot of people have this. I have this question. It's like, how do you take what you're doing seriously? I'm very big on, and we're going to talk in this podcast about like your hobbies and your interests are not just something you should. Okay, you can casually do it, but it shouldn't be something that is optional. Like you need to have something.
Right.
Prioritize it. And like not just have it, but like to me, it's like, why on earth would you have this collection of interests the way you do? Even if somebody tried to curate something the same way you did with your same interests and hobbies, they wouldn't do it the same way you do. So you like, not only do you have your hobbies and interests, you have your unique perspective and experiences, right? And I'm like, people don't take that seriously, so they don't go after anything that they like. They're just kind of like, oh, tennis? Everybody plays tennis. That's just something I can do after work. And it's like, okay, but if you like look at all of your hobbies and interests together, like you notice a pattern and like maybe a certain vibe and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's like, how do you take that seriously? Like, because it's hard in this like socialized world to like take all those things seriously when you're taught that that's after work stuff.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I guess you just kind of have to imagine that it is taken seriously by like other people. Cause like the social pressure. So like one thing I've heard people do, like say on TikTok, like coaches and things, they'll say like with your content, like imagine you're already the successful content creator.
Sure.
Like this podcast has 1 million views. What energy am I going to show up with? So it's kind of like, imagine if the person who wants to play tennis, maybe they don't want to do it professionally, but they want to play tennis at their own tennis club and have like a community of people who are interested in tennis, but like also finance. I don't know. Imagine that idea has like 1,000 people lined up to do exactly what you just thought of. Like you would just come with some kind of leader, HR director energy that you never had. And I think you have to pretend and like, okay, everyone's going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to pretend, but like, what if I don't get any traction? Basically you pretend as long as you need to until it happens. Like then slowly when you're doing something, when your body is physically doing something every day that your mind told it to do, it starts to become real. Just like this podcast, we were talking about it for 6 months. I don't know.
It doesn't feel like that long.
It doesn't feel like that long, but I feel like it was long.
Okay.
I at least this year, at least since I quit, but we just kept talking about it, started becoming slowly a reality. I couldn't have told you whenever we started talking about it, I couldn't have told you that on what's today? September 8th, we're going to sit down and start filming this thing. Like I couldn't have told you that. So it's like, I think you just have to keep doing things enough to where it becomes real and you start to believe it. Other people start to believe it. And then eventually it will be that tennis finance club that people are buying tickets for. And it's like, oh, I mean, that's just kind of like woo woo. You're just kind of like thinking about it.
It's not because like,
but it's not.
Even this like episode 0 recording is just supposed to be a sound check. But it feels so much more real now.
I know.
You know. Now that we like set up all the equipment and we're recording it.
It's like, oh shit, maybe we should do this next week too.
But that's kind of like the point. You just like keep doing the
little by little
things. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in this like new level, this new like reality. And you're like, oh shit.
I think it's because you're slowly putting your ideas into the world. You think they're silly. Like they might be silly to you. You're like, oh, it's not good compared to this X person, whatever. But you slowly start like dropping pieces of you into the world, which everything is connected. So there's going to be someone who aligns with what you're saying and you slowly start dropping it. But like me, I'm watching like if I go on YouTube and I'm watching someone's podcast, whatever it's about, whatever it's called, I'm going to take them seriously. I'm going to think they're a podcaster because they're showing up as someone who has a podcast. So whether they just thought of that yesterday and put it up or they weren't planning to be like some big content creator, I'm going to take them seriously because that's how they're showing up, assuming that they're not like being ridiculous. I don't think there's any other way to get to the destination other than to just like start.
Like you wouldn't be an entrepreneur if you didn't have an imagination for something that doesn't already exist. You know what I mean? Or a reality that doesn't already exist. Like if it already exists, then you're just like, there's nothing to imagine. Yeah. You know?
Everything is like made up.
Yeah.
Everything is like made up until it's not. Like people just put something that they made up, people interpret it, and it becomes real. I think it's like things, isn't this like a philosophical thing? Like things become real because someone like thinks it's real.
The tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it. It doesn't make a sound. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. What is that called?
I don't know. It's just like a thing.
Everything is like a chain reaction. That's why you need, it's all connected. The mind. Stav and Hannah, if you're watching this. Shut up. Shout out.